Hey everybody, Dawn Zoldi here, CEO of P3 Tech Consulting, and we are at the FAA's AAM Summit live. And today I have with us to start Melissa McCarthy. She is the Director of Policy and Government Affairs for Overair. So welcome, Melissa.
Thanks, Dawn, for having me. Excited to be here at this conference.
Well, awesome. So tell us a little bit about, yourself and what you do at Overair.
Sure. So at Overair, we are developing an eVTOL aircraft, electric vertical and takeoff and landing, which has been, quite the exciting conversation here at the conference. So I lead our policy and government affairs for Overair. And so what is unique about Overair is we are developing a eVTOL aircraft that will hold 5 passengers and a pilot. We have room for luggage. We'll be focusing on, carrying people, but then also goods and services, and also medevac.
That's so cool. I'm really excited to see your aircraft at some point. But let's talk about this summit and maybe some of the themes that you're seeing pop out. This summit started yesterday afternoon. It's continuing through this morning. We had a keynote from the stage today. What are some of the things that are kind of popping out of you from a theme standpoint?
Yeah, I think something that's really stuck, that's very clear, is that we need to have a whole of government approach when we're tackling all the different things that we need to get accomplished for AAM to be successful globally and obviously in the United States. I think another theme that I've been hearing, which resonates pretty, closely to me because I am a product of a high school aviation program, is that we really need to make sure that we're growing the pilot population, jobs, economic opportunity for not just, folks that are interested in AM, but, at Overair, we really like to make sure that we're focused on jobs being for the community. So it would be great to operate in the city and then also have folks from that city be able to, have the jobs that are available for AAM.
Yeah, absolutely. We're hearing a lot about workforce development, not just pilots, of course, the whole entire ecosystem, mechanics, ground transportation. And Melissa, something's jumped out at me was this idea of integrating, this multimodal system, integrating with ground transportation. This is really the first time I'm hearing this from kind of the AAM crowd. And it's really exciting because clearly for AAM to work in a city, you need to have the ground transportation, right, to get you to that vertiport or airport or whatever it is we're going to be using in the future. So what would you say so far? I know we're still kind of in the middle of this. Is your biggest takeaway?
Another thing that also I think is really, really important is we have to have community acceptance. And in order for this to work, it's a new entrant, it's a new vehicle in the sky, right? And so I think making sure that we have that outreach to the community, and frankly, the community has a high bar, especially when we're talking about noise. So at Overair, we're really excited to have the quietest eVTOL. And that's the standard that we're going to be able to obviously, have because of that exciting technology that we have. So I think, it's going to take a lot of early engagement. And again, back to that whole government approach. So if we don't get every level of government from federal to state, local, and community, I just don't think that we're going to be as successful as we need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting community buy-in is really huge. In fact, one thing I heard yesterday from the stage, and I'm not going to attribute it to a particular speaker, but this idea of, hey, there are communities welcoming us and there are communities that are not. Let's focus on the ones that are welcoming us. And it's like, why are we fighting people? Like, let's show them how awesome we can be by going to the ones that are accepting us already. And, that kind of makes an abundant amount of sense. So kind of in closing with you, Melissa, what is, the most exciting thing? What is the thing you're the most excited about that you've learned so far?
I think there's a lot of, and this is funny, but there's a lot of energy and around eVTOL right now. And that's really exciting. We're talking about the next chapter in aviation, and as an aviator at heart, it's just an exciting time. But again, I think making sure we do the right steps to have all the levels of government be in line and get support from Congress, from the state and local level, and from our communities and local leaders. That's going to be the key part to making sure this is on the right track for the next chapter.
Absolutely. And, for everybody out there, by the way, I know you're out there. I know LinkedIn is packed right now. So thank you for watching. If you have questions, comments, drop them in the chat. We will get them. It's going to get a little crazy and weird here momentarily because this is the morning break. And so you're going to hear some background noise potentially. But that's because there's like 500 people here, I think, or more.
Yeah.
So really great attendance, really great show so far. So appreciate you being here. And For Air, by the way, I believe is one of the major sponsors for this AAM portion of the event. So thank you for your support. And great to meet you and to hear your thoughts.
Thanks so much for taking the time to talk about AAM.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate
All right. Drum roll, please. We have our next guest coming up right here. We've got Shanetta, the Associate Administrator for the FAA's Office of Airports. It's such an honor to meet you, ma'am.
As well. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Shanetta was on the stage just moments ago, really, as part of this morning's keynote. And I did get to watch most of that. Really interesting, this idea of integrating with airports or using some of the, I think you said from the stage, there are 3,300 airports under your purview from the FAA standpoint, from a supervision and oversight inspection standpoint. But there's a lot of regional and other airports that are not, and maybe those are the ones ripe for advanced air mobility. Tell me about your thoughts there.
Well, most importantly, that's when we think about where these new technologies can go, our bigger airports are congested, right? So these smaller airports, the ones that aren't necessarily have the highest focus, that's where some of these eVTOLs can go and land and take off, bringing passengers to those airports and then off to our larger airports. So I think, yes, that's where a lot of focus will go, and we have to turn our focus to those airports and making sure that, again, safety is number one, and the infrastructure that they have can accommodate these new technologies. So that's important for us. Again, as I talked about, you probably heard me say, those are some of the gaps that we're looking at, some of the challenges that we're looking at in regards to policy, regulation, and how we can make sure that all of the airports in our system can be safe, but can handle these new types of technologies.
There's so much infrastructure we need to think about, but for everybody out there, a couple things jumped out at me from the stage this morning, and I want to reinforce that. There are several different things in the Federal Register right now that are out for public comment, and they're coming to closure soon. I believe one is on August 14th. That is the RFI, the request for information on advanced air mobility, everybody, is due on August 17th. So if you just Google RFI, AAM, August 17th, it's going to pop up in the Federal Register. The FAA is seeking your comments, right? You guys are really interested in what people have to say.
That's exactly right. So there's two that are very critical right now. One coming out of our safety group within the FAA, and the one that you just mentioned is for our interagency working group. So cross government has come together to talk about this issue, talk about things that we need to be looking at. And so those two are right behind each other. I think one for our airfield safety is the 14th of August, and the other one is August 17th. So please, please, please get out and give comments, because that's how we can do our jobs better and make sure that those types of issues are being addressed.
Absolutely. In fact, just to be absolutely clear, the other one we're talking about, a notice of public rulemaking titled Integration of Powered Lift, Pilot Certification and Operations, Miscellaneous Amendments Related to Rotorcraft and Airplanes. And that's the one that closes sooner on August 14th. So again, if you're interested in this community, if you have thoughts, that is definitely a theme that's jumping out at me, Shanetta, is this hunger from the FAA, from NASA, from the others in the interagency. What are the gaps? What are the needs of industry? What can the public contribute to this conversation?
That is so critical for us because, again, industry is moving very fast. There's some very intelligent people that are putting this technology together, building out these aircrafts. But we need that information. We need that partnership and collaboration to ensure that the things we have to do for certification, for flight standards, for integrating into the airspace, for us to build out infrastructure, none of that can happen if we don't have that information. So, yes, very often, early, often communication is what we continue to emphasize to make sure that we can all be in this together and to make sure that it's not only safe, but it's also a good business opportunity. You heard a lot of this morning about sustainability and equity. That's what we want to build out. And this is a great opportunity to do that with this new technology.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking about reducing carbon emissions, right? We're talking about bringing air travel to locations that maybe don't right now have access, or conversely, bringing goods, right?
Correct.
Delivering goods, cargo to
Correct.
those more remote locations is really
Correct.
key.
Correct.
So what you've been here, by the way, it is a testament, I think, to the FAA, the fact that they're even holding this summit. It's the first one for advanced air mobility, by the way. And it's clear there's a two-way dialogue as part of this event. What are you the most excited about that you've heard so far?
Well, the fact that we can bring industry together along with the FAA, the regulator of this, you heard from the Department of Transportation, you heard from even the White House.
Yes, the White House was on the
the
stage
White
this
House
morning,
was on the
everybody.
stage.
Yeah.
That shows how important this advanced air mobility is and how we all want it to be successful, how we're all trying to come together to gather information, to get information, to make sure we have the right things in place for this to be successful. So I'm excited, certainly, that the FAA is a part of this. Being a part of the FAA, that's important to me, to know that we're at the forefront of these conversations. But then our partnerships, you just had one of our partners over here, AUVSI, all of the OEMs participate. That's what's exciting, is because we're all trying to get to a common goal. We're trying to reach this and make sure that this is successful. That's what's really, really, really exciting. It's scary, but it is exciting.
It is. I have to tell you, we were kind of joking in a way. There's like buzzwords that are jumping out from even this whole week. And one of them is collaboration, right?
Yes.
And yesterday on the stage, we had Over Air, Joby,
Yes.
Archer,
Yes.
and Whisk,
Yes.
all sitting on the same stage, all talking about how they're kind of frenemies, if you will,
Right,
joking
right,
about it,
right,
but like
right.
the fact that they all have a common interest in moving this industry forward,
Yes.
that they call each other every day. They're actually on many levels working together, and of
Yes.
course with the FAA. And just to see that, I think, was really significant.
Very, very significant. And we've seen it a lot. Usually where we go and we're talking, the FAA is on stage, NASA could be on stage, DOD could be on stage, but we see these individuals coming together to make sure that they're collaborating, because that's important too. All of them have a business model, they have a business drive, and we get that part of it. But the fact that they know that they have to also work together and work with us is a testament to this technology and to this industry that is now growing out of what we consider, commercial side, but is now growing, and all of them become a part of the NAS, which is another big, big, big part why collaboration is important.
It is, and I love reveals on our streams, and I feel like what I heard this morning was a little bit of a reveal. The I-28 document just
Yes.
recently dropped. Everybody, if you haven't read it, you should. And what that talks about is basically how the needs, the planning that has to occur to really have AAM in full kind of capacity by 2028.
Right.
Which, by the way, is the Olympics. So there's going to be a synergy with the Olympics and really flying these AAM for real in the United States. But 2025 is a big, right, dot on the calendar, because, there's going to be examples of real world showcasing of AAM in select cities. And so that's really exciting.
Well, and that's why that implementation plan is key. And really, when people think about that, this is a staged approach. We want to make sure that as we look at aircraft coming under that certification, we have infrastructure in place, we've had that community engagement, all of those pieces to build up to that larger interaction, which could be the Olympics. And we know that at least what we hear from the OEMs is that they're going to have a lot more vehicles ready to fly, ready to have people have that business model in place. So again, this is a staged approach, and we really want all of our listeners to hear that this is a staged approach. We want to make sure that we're safe, everything is safe, that we have all of those pieces together. So that implementation plan, please read it. Please, again, give us your thoughts on it. But that is to show that we're building up to something that's going to be fantastic for the Olympics.
And it's so great to be a part of that. Everybody, Shanetta Griffin from the FAA's airport office. This is really amazing. Oh, by the way, we have some comments here.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Miss Griffin. Chris Jennifer Seth is also saying, let's see. Oh, please talk about the DFW, I guess the Dallas Fort Worth UTM key site. By the way, this is Ernest Huffman. That's serving Ernest. Ernest, for those of you that don't know him, is with the North Central Texas Council of Governments. And Dallas is going to be one of those places, right? One of these kind of, if you will, real world like test beds. I don't know a better way to describe that.
Yeah. And I will tell you that both Dallas Fort Worth, Perot Field that's there as well too, all of them have been very active in this conversation. So thank you for that question, because again, that is a place that we're following. We're looking at the technology. Dallas Fort Worth has been a great partner with us in regards to testing, in regards to those sites, looking at not just AAM but UAS as well. So we thank you for that. We thank you for that partnership. But that's the type of thing that we need across the country. Others that step up to say, hey, we want to be a part of this. We want to help with the testing. We want to be able to get this knowledge that we need, again, to build out the infrastructure, to look at this holistically. I've used that word ecosystem a lot. There's a lot of pieces that go into that. And partners like Dallas Fort Worth and others that have stepped up to help us in that drive, we thank you for that, and we appreciate that.
Well, thank you, by the way,
Thank
for
you.
taking this time. And as we close out, any final words you want to say to the audience?
No, I just want to thank the audience for listening, being a part of this conversation today at this conference. We've talked about both UAS and AAM. This is the wave of the future, and all of us, all of you can be a part of that wave. And thank you for your participation. We welcome your comments. We look forward to your comments. And thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate it.
Of course, such an honor. It's great to
Thank
meet
you. Nice to meet you as well.
It's so amazing to meet all these people. I mean, it's like really an honor. I'm just nerding out right now. But we're going to sign off, everybody. Really appreciate those that watched in. And by the way, I also want to just give a shout out to AUVSI that not only helped run this conference, of course, that facilitated this live stream, and Valme's Augmented AI for supporting my participation here. So thank you, everybody. We are out here.